Here we go then. Test cricket returns in the holiday season as India return to playing some Test cricket overseas. Virat Kohli's been in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. He'd much rather be in the headlines for getting some runs. He's going to have a chance at history in 3 Test matches in South Africa that we're thankful are finally getting underway. If India managed to come out on the right side of this result, where would that put Kohli in terms of stature of Asian captains winning Test series in Australia, potentially in England and even in South Africa? We have the first Test in Centurion to look forward to. You need batting when you go to South Africa. I've got some elegant batting on my panel today. It's a very good afternoon to Wasim Jaffer in my part of the world, and a very good morning to Daryll, Cullinan, my old friend, who's now next to some very exotic wineries in Pal. How are you doing, Daryll?
I'm very well, thank you, Raunak. Lovely to be with you, and Wasim, I look forward to spending time with you on the series.
Yeah, absolutely. Likewise, Daryll. And we are looking forward to the series. Wasim, you were with us during the home tests in New Zealand, and India have almost made light work of any opposition that come home. This is a different challenge. Overcast, windy South Africa, somewhere where India have never won in 7 previous attempts. There is a first that's waiting, isn't there?
It is, and it is one of the countries that they would want to go there and win. They won in Australia. They've been up in England series. So New Zealand and South Africa is the series they would want to conquer. And I think this team has got potential. Even in the last tour, I felt that India could have won that series. They just fell short. And like you said, batting is one of those issues. If India goes on to get 350, 400 runs consistently, then I think India has got the bowling attack to win the series on these venues.
And they won the first toss, and I wonder how important that'll be in a minute. But before that, Daryll, is this India's best chance to win a series in South Africa? The last time you and me were in South Africa when India were there, it was a South African team that had Hashim Amla, A.B. de Villiers, Faf du Plessis, Steyn, Morkel, Philander. All of them have gone now. Team in transition. Is this India's best chance?
It is their best chance, I do believe, because they've got the bowling, as we know. For me, it's a question for either side. If they put the runs on the board, they've got the best chance of winning. And India bat deeper than South Africa right now. And that's one of the keys to doing well in South Africa. You need runs from 7, 8, and 9. But South Africa, well, at home, they've got a lot to prove. They're a very determined young group, but they're up against an Indian side that has arrived early. Remember that last series, Raunak, in Cape Town, India got well beaten. But by the third test in Johannesburg, they were comfortably the better side. So surely they'll draw a lot of strength on that.
And one of those things in that series was India just made their way there. I don't think there were a lot of practice games. In this case, they've been around a while. Virat Kohli speaking at the toss now, saying the preparation and build-up has been wonderful, just what he would have asked for. So let's put that into context. But they won a toss now, Daryll. And Centurion was very different last time when we were there. It almost looked like one of our pitches. This is the classic Centurion. It's overcast. There's been some grass. There's a forecast for rain too. Now, is this an important toss to win, or would you have rather just lost one of these tosses when you're not quite sure what to make of conditions?
It probably is a good one to lose. I must say that, in all honesty, Centurion has never really produced great test wickets. Test wickets where it goes to plan, bit of movement, good for batting, and then take some turn. It's generally been two-pace sort of pitch, tennis ball bounce, thatchy grass, cracks widening, and then day 5, a result depends more on the up and down nature of the pitch. So I think it's going to be a tough decision. We've had a lot of rain in the Highveld, more than most years recently, so that will affect the preparation. But I think it's a case of on the day, in the over, in the game, for both teams to read the conditions well and play accordingly well.
All right. All sorts of questions and speculations on what team India would put out. First, Virat Kohli gave us only the combination at the toss, Wasim, and they've gone with 3 seamers, Ashwin is the spinner, and the all-rounder in Shardul Thakur. They did that last time too. They played Hardik Pandya in the first test. There were many opinions on whether they should have gone an extra batter. They've not done that. What do you make of India's combination first up? And then I'll get into the personnel.
I think it's not a bad option. I mean, Shardul Thakur gives that little bit of space to the seamers. He can bat, we all know. He would definitely love the tag of being called an all-rounder. So, and he's played a couple of really, really important knocks, in such a small period of time. That too in Australia and England. So that will give him confidence. And I think as a fourth seamer, he's a very good option. So I think this 11 looks good. I think they've gone with the right choice of giving Ajinkya Rahane a go. That's a right decision from me. I think it's a little bit harsh on Shreyas Iyer because he's got 100 on
Yes.
debut, but I think he can wait. It has not happened for the first time that a Centurion guy has been dropped. So I think it's a very good combination, and that shows that they've got the positive mindset going into the test match of winning mentality. So that is a very good 11 for me.
Yeah, very interesting that because we know Virat Kohli loves his five bowlers, Daryl. He loves to play five bowlers when he can. We thought Ravindra Jadeja gives him the best chance to play five. Now, after Cape Town last time, when India were blown away essentially with bat, we wondered whether they could have gone for the extra insurance, extra batter, with the Pant batting six and then Ashwin or Shardul at 7 and 8 is a bit too light in these conditions. What do you made of India's bold choice of playing five specialist bowlers?
I like the idea of playing five specialist bowlers. I've always believed in that. I think you really put yourself in a tough position with four specialist bowlers, and then you're left in a situation where you don't have any variation to offer. If one goes down, then you essentially only have three. But you do feel that if Taku can genuinely bat and put up runs, I was just looking at that team list, they then back to 8. And that supports my view if you that at 7, 8, and 9, you can get those 60, 70 odd runs. So I think probably the fact that he's considered a bit of a bowling all-rounder, if one could say that. But Ashwin, we know, is pretty useful with the bat. But he's got options there. And I think that's what Kohli, as a captain, you'd always want to know that come the situation, the match situation, wherever it is, I can offer something, even if it's just tying down the team, restricting the economy rate. But you have a way of being always in a position to apply pressure.
We need to change that on our Cricket Info side, don't we? Shardul Thakur, it lists bowler. Virat Kohli has christened him all-rounder now, so we need to make that change. I'll have a word with somebody at back end to do that. But a question for both of you. Wasim, first up, whether you would have had some sort of chat that looking at our bowling form of late and looking at this South African batting unit without Faf and AB and Hashim Amla, whether we could have managed with just four, whether we could have taken the extra insurance of a batter. For this particular series, would it have been wise, Wasim, to go with just four bowlers because they're four bowlers that can get you 20 wickets?
I'm sure these four bowlers, leaving Shardul Thakur out, those four bowlers still can do the job. But I think, like I said, it shows that attitude of, going with a positive mindset. And on top of that, you've got Virat, Ajinkya Rahane, Pujara, even KL, and those guys have got nearly, 80, 90 test matches on their name. So, that shows a lot of experience. So you could have gone with seven batters and four bowlers. But I think, like Virat, we know, he goes there with a mindset of winning. And I think it's not a bad call, and it gives number 7, number 8, like Daryll is saying, it still gives a lot of depth lower down the order. And for South Africa hasn't played a test match for 4-5 months. So they would be undercooked, in my opinion. They haven't played a test cricket for 4-5 months. So I think they'll be under pressure in their home series, with India coming in. I think South Africa might be the team which will be under pressure going into this first test match.
Interesting you say that. I'll get a comment on Daryll from that as well. But Wasim did pick the extra batter in his playing 11, his predictive playing 11, previewing this test, Daryll. If you followed, I'm sure you followed what Indian cricket's been up to of late. And the likes of Pujara, Rahane, Kohli, they have been short of runs. Whether that would have further tempted Kohli to say, now let me get some extra batting. He says, no, you guys are going to be doing the job. We're going to pick our specialist batters, even if they're short of some sort of form.
Well, this is what will give South Africa a lot of hope and belief that they can get in amongst the Indian batsmen. I mean, Rahane, that's quite a mystery to me. An average, such a classy-looking player. Virat, surprisingly, has been low on runs. Perhaps there's been a lot on his mind. I do feel he's also in his life and career going through a new time. Pujara, but ultimately, in South Africa, you've got to be good with the new ball and you've got to be good against the new ball. The first 30-odd overs, after 30-odd overs, I can speak from a South African perspective, the ball gets softer and batting conditions do ease up quite a lot. That is too low on runs, what we saw there, and that will give South Africa a lot of encouragement. Their bowlers, if they can get one or two up front, they know they've got a good chance to get through the rest.
The fact is that India are batting first. That opportunity is presented to South Africa. Now, on the selection point itself, Rahane has been given faith. So, Wasim, you said you wanted to start with Rahane, but that was in a team that you picked which had six batters. Is it fair to give him the nod ahead of both Shreyas Iyer and Hanuma Vihari, who was, of course, as we know, sent here in preparation for this series?
I think so. I think with so much experience, like I said, even in the New Zealand series, that you would need to take a call on Cheteshwar Pujara and Ajinkya Rahane after this series, because they've not been at their best for a while now. So you need to take a call on them how this series goes for both of them, and then you can take a call because you've got Prithvi Shaw waiting in the wings, Shubman Gill waiting in the wings, Hanuma Vihari, Shreyas Iyer coming up, even Surya Kumar Yadav has been added in the last series. So those guys can do the job, but you need to trust your experienced guys, and those two guys have done a wonderful job so far. So you need to stick with them for this important series and take a call. If this series goes well, then obviously they continue. But if anything goes wrong, then you need to take a serious call.
Okay, so the Indian batter is being more sympathetic to the Indian batter under pressure. Let me ask Daryll Cullinan now. 80 tests for Ajinkya Rahane. Is that sort of the time that you start saying, no, it's time, we have enough people banging on the door, young Indian talent, let's put them in? Or do we say, no, it's a big overseas series, we start with the experienced guy, even if they're short of runs? Daryll, which way do you've gone?
Probably not a bad idea, because you need your big players to play well. Yeah, generally we haven't seen stars emerge with the bat in South Africa. It's never been that easy. But surely, just looking at those innings, he's had periods where he hasn't scored, as we do know, but then he comes out and at 100 in Australia, it just looks absolutely world class. And it's probably that which keeps you believing in his ability. But it's got to be a defining tour for him. I think if it doesn't click for him consistently well, then it's probably time India will move on.
All right. We will pass further judgment after we watch Ajinkya Rahane. He's got his opportunity in this first test, and we'll see how things go. Let's have a look at South Africa's 11 as well once, shall we? We know that they had a few selection calls to make too, but they've given the nod to Marco Jansen as the left-arm seamer, so it's a test debut for him. We thought Dwan Olivia would make his way into the team. It would have been quite the story for him as well, returning after signing Kolpak for Yorkshire in 2019. Daryll Cullinan picked him in his preview 11 to this test match, but they've gone for the left-arm seam, Daryll, of Marco Jansen. Everybody else was pretty much on expected lines in that 11. What do you make of the Jansen selection?
Well, I'm absolutely gobsmacked, to be honest. I picked Willie Fear as my number one choice with Rabada. Willie Fear offers you everything, but why I was quite keen on him was that he's had a very good season in England, and he said himself in an interview, he learned to bowl that fuller length, which all pace bowlers learn to do in England. And to me, that's what you need to do in South Africa, particularly against India. Those follow-up lengths are critical, because I do think in the past, from what I've seen, the Indian subcontinent players get caught on the crease, and that follow-up ball, dragging them forward, is where you found the outside edge. So don't be surprised today. You see the ball going through, there's a bit of bounce, everyone's getting carried away, and I want to see how good they are with those follow-up lengths. And that's why I was so for Willie Fear playing. Jansen has a bit of potential. He's a tall lad, but I can tell you, first-class cricket, he hasn't really set the world alight in the last 2 years. So I think he's more picked on reputation. Kohli recognized him in 2018, I think, at a net practice, then gave him a breakthrough. So perhaps I can't believe they're thinking that, well, if Virat rates him highly, let's get him in the side. Maybe Willie Fear pulled up before the match with this morning's warm-up. We don't know, but I'd love to hear their explanation why they've picked Jansen.
Yeah, I mean, it's a world of difference in terms of record. Jansen's young. He's played, 19 first-class games. Dwan Olivia has been around a while, 120-plus first-class games for him. We've seen a little bit of him. If Indian viewers have watched him only in the IPL, we saw a little bit of him, Wasim, in the 2020 edition. Mumbai Indians gave him a couple of games, but not much to go by. But the left-arm seam is the variety. Would you see that as a threat or as a reason why they might have picked him ahead of the experienced Olivia?
Yeah, I think so. I think just for the variety that he brings as a left-armer, and probably the left-armers have done well against Indians. That is probably one of the reasons. But I think Olivia and Rabada and Jansen would have made more sense to me. Ngidi again hasn't played for a while, so it's little surprising, like Daryll says. So I've also picked, in my 11, I would have picked Olivia as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how this attack, leaving out Rabada, those two guys do.
Yeah, well, it's a big series for someone like Kagiso Rabada, Daryll. His white ball form is a bit patchy in the last few months or so. Last time India played a series here, he had Steyn beside him, Mokel, Vernon Philander. Suddenly Rabada's leading this attack now, and fair to say there is one format where his form hasn't dropped. It's been red ball cricket.
Well, he hasn't played for a while, as you
Yes.
mentioned up front, but he now is the true leader of the attack. He's been our most successful bowler, so they will lean on him a lot. I just wonder, how hungry is he? How fit is he after this lengthy break? Playing bowling in white ball cricket, bowling in Test cricket, I can only imagine requires a different mindset as it does in batting and from a fitness point of view. But he is that one guy that if he's on song, he can trouble a lot of these Indian players, particularly Virat, because I do think one or two is susceptible to the ball that comes off the pitch back into them. And that is what Kagiso can do. And he gets that fuller length so good. That's why for me, it was such a revelation as a young fast bowler. His control and his ability to change his lengths and so accurately was way beyond his years when he started. But South Africa need him now. He's a seasoned campaigner now. He's a test bowler through and through now. And that's now a different challenge. Exciting, young, fresh, going hard. But now can he lead and show the rest how to do it? And to me, that's the role that we need to look at him to perform now and carry that role. So it's going to be interesting to see how he goes about his business in this series.
And delicious prospect first up was him. It's Rabada who is leading this attack on an overcast, do you think, or at least conditions conducive to his sort of bowling against a KL Rahul and Mayank Agarwal, who you didn't think, if you had to chart this team, say 5-6 months back, would be your first choice set of openers. Now, Rahul, after an excellent series in England, what's the expectation from him in South Africa? There will be different challenges, one would think, than what he faced in England.
Definitely, I think it's South African conditions is pretty much similar to England. Obviously, the ball changes. Duke's ball obviously offers more to the bowlers, but the first 30 overs is very, very crucial in South Africa with those two cover of balls. And KL obviously had a very good series in England. Mayank again need to prove himself outside India, so it's going to be a very challenging series for him. So those two guys, I mean, the openers play such an important role. To not lose too many wickets up front in those first 30 overs is going to be very, very crucial because the game gets a lot easier after those 30 overs. And the batters, I think, in South Africa has to be a bit like Cinderella, Raunak. You need to understand when to leave the ball. So that is going to be very, very important.
Yes.
I love it. You like it, Daryll? Wasim is always throwing in one of these gems of his every show. Batter's got to be like Cinderella in South Africa.
No, you've got to be very watchful. You've got to know your lines and lengths to play. But let's not forget the influence role Dravid, I think, will have on the Indian batters. Now, when he after his first tour in South Africa, I think it was 93, 94, I then said in an interview that of all the batters we've had, this included Australia that been here, Rahul managed and played Alan Donald the best, even better than I thought than Sachin did. So I hope they're drawn on that experience. But that's going to be the key. Remember in Johannesburg, we were square of the wicket, Raunak, watching that test match, and Virat played beautifully. His use of the crease was exceptional. He was back, he was forward, his footwork and his judgment, he was top of his game. When the Asian batsmen come here, the subcontinent players, they struggle. That in-between length was him, where should I be forward, should I be back? And they play a bit from the crease. You get away with it on slower pitches. You can drop the hands. English pitches perhaps a bit slower. But yeah, you've got to be brave, not be intimidated by the pace. And in-between length, my advice has been look to get forward. If they're moving well, there's lots of Cinderellas there, and they're judging well. I think they can bat very, very well, yeah. But it comes from the heart, and that's why I like Virat. He leads with the heart from the front. He's a great competitor, but it's important that he bats well.
Yep, and that was at not the ideal pitch for batting, if you remember, in Johannesburg last time around, as we recall. Yeah,
your great friend Mikey Holding was all for calling the test match off. I mean, Dean Elgar played probably the bravest innings we've seen by a batsman ever in South Africa since our readmission. So, yes, South Africa, their record here is phenomenal. This is truly their fortress. So they know how to bat and play here. But I think the word is that really patience and thinking cricket. You've got to drag this out and you've got to bat well first innings. You don't want to be caught fourth innings, day 5. Yeah. Even your third innings has proved to be the Achilles heel for a lot of sides, never mind the last one. They generally tend to we look at the stats, fold that third innings. So your first innings, it tells you have to bat well.
Yep. Centurion is a fortress for South Africa. They have a very proud record here, just 2 defeats in a number of attempts. So they've had, I think, 26 test matches and just the 2 defeats. Daryll Cullinan played in one of those, the first of those, in a curious game where England and South Africa both forfeited an innings each to try and force a result. And then Mitchell Jansen, several years later, when he was in the form of his life, just blew South Africa away in 2014 when the Aussies were. But that's just pretty much it. Nothing other than that has breached South Africa in Centurion. Daryll, you got something for me on that first test, don't you?
The one we won or lost?
I think you lost that one, didn't you? The one against England. Those are the only 2 defeats at Centurion. You featured in one of those where you had to forfeit 1 innings each. Yeah.
Yeah, but 10 of us didn't lose it. 10 of us won it. Yeah. Well, it took the England captain to play his role as well. So
Fair enough. You played with the series. Daryll Cullinan is back with a bang. And as far as Virat Kohli goes, though, this is the ground that he did get a magnificent 100 last time he was in South Africa. His highest test score is against South Africa. A lot is made about the search or the wait for that 3-figure mark, Wasim. It's been over 2 years now. What it would mean for Virat Kohli, who's not at the best time of it. Suddenly, he doesn't seem to be this invincible figure in Indian cricket. All sorts of nonsense in the media as well in the build-up to this. He'd love to put that aside with a 3-figure mark, wouldn't he?
Oh, definitely. I think those 2 years he didn't look out of sorts. So he got those 70s, 80s, or 60s, 70s, but he didn't look out of sorts like we're talking about Ajinkya and Pujara. So he's got those scores consistently, but that 3-figure mark hasn't come. And I think that captaincy, white ball captaincy that has taken out of him. He left the T21, but I think that is going to help him. That is going to make him focus more on his batting, and I think that is going to do wonders for him, like it did to Sachin Tendulkar. I think it's going to help him, focus more on his batting, and I think the only thing that is going to be positive is for India, that we're going to get the Virat Kohli, the batsman, back, and hopefully that should happen from here on.
And Daryll likes how he's seen of Virat Kohli, of course, against South Africa's, you could say, main 2 bowlers now, which are Rabada and Ngidi. Remember, Ngidi had a big role to play in Centurion last time, came into the series when Dale Steyn got injured. But Virat Kohli's record against them, he's got a terrific record against Rabada. Not a lot of modern-day batters that can boast to that. It's a small sample size against Ngidi, but he has got him twice in 5 innings, one of them being the Centurion test that India played last time round. Maybe you should put a word in on Ngidi as well, Daryll. He is to see if he stays fit, but if he does stay fit, he is that awkward sort of bowler still, isn't he?
Well, that Centurion test match, Ngidi got those in the second dig. It wasn't an easy pitch to bat on, but give him credit. He bowled well. He got his lengths really good there and bowled with a lot of fire and determination. As any young quick bowler, I think that was his debut test as well. But, Virat's a class player. You write off Virat at your own peril. And I like Wasim's point, he's played, relieving him of a lot of that pressure, but also the amount of white ball cricket that he's played and the role and the responsibilities and the role that he plays off the field and his whole persona and what's expected of him. Even the best is going to wear you down. So now it may just relieve him a lot of that sort of pressure. I don't think what's recently happened in the media will affect him at all. I think that's just typical of what kind of happens in Indian cricket and discussions off the field. But I'm expecting him to be focused, a point to prove. He's always throughout his career, when there's been a challenge, he's risen to that challenge. And I've been a great fan of his, never mind the way he bats, but just that attitude of, I'm India's batting, I'm the main player, I'm here to do it, you come and get me, and I'm going to do my best against you. And I have no doubt that the rest have fed off the strength that he offers when it comes to their batting over the last few years. And if he's got that mindset, he'll click. I'm absolutely convinced he'll click, and the rest will click with him. And then if that's happening, it's going to be tough for South Africa to win.
All right, players already on the field. South Africa have taken their knee in unity as we now expect them to, for the cause that did cause some trouble in the media in the T20 World Cup. It's nice to see that that's behind them. They're all together on this. And as we just wind up this show, we'll now meet Daryll and Wasim at stumps at the end of the day. Daryll, there is some rain forecast for a lot of tomorrow, for later today. The average first inning score at Centurion is about 325, I think. Does it change things up? The weather forecast, the fact that both battings are vulnerable. Do you see 220, 250, maybe 260 being good enough in this series or in this test at least?
Well, if that's sort of going to be the pitch, I had a quick squiz at the pitch report earlier that it's not going to be that easy. It's going to be tough for batting, but it is a venue where you can spend time at the crease. But trying to accelerate, trying to be more fluent, you invariably find yourself not getting runs. So I anticipate 50s, 60s, 70s. If someone pushes on, it's going to be a remarkable innings. But as I said first up, Raunak, I think it's going to be about the team that on the day, particularly today, that reads the conditions well and plays accordingly, adjusts as they go on, is going to have a good day.
Wasim, final thoughts from you. Do India look at those first innings score sort of numbers? Will the weather at all play into their calculations, or you think none of that is an opener?
No, I think obviously the conditions will matter a lot, and I think India with the kind of bowling that India got, if you put the Indian batting and Indian bowling, I think Indian bowling is far more stronger compared to their batting as of now. So I think they would be looking somewhere, I would say 275, 300 if they get to that score. And the kind of bowling that we've got and the kind of batting they are bowling to, they are not bowling to Hashim Amla, they are not bowling to Fab du Plessis, they are not bowling to AB de Villiers. So they'll be very, keen to get 275, 300 on the board. And to bowl to this South African batting will be a lot easier compared to the one we told before. So that is the target, probably 300 would be in their mind, that if the batters get them to that score, they'll be happy.
All right, wonderful. Good start. Cracking start from the batting duo of Wasim, Jaffer and Daryll Cullinan. Now only if Rahul and Mayun can reach at least half the level that my guests have. Gentlemen, let's speak at stumps, shall we? As this Boxing Day test is underway, this mouth-watering series is underway, and imagine what it could do for India if they manage to get the right side of the result on this series. Join us at stumps for ESPN Cricket for Matchday. We'll have you covered, of course, on the site through the day with our ball-by-ball commentary.